The State Board Citizens Open Forum is closed at 12:10 p.m. We would like to thank our speakers for sharing their views with the board. The State Board will determine if any of the issues should be addressed as an agenda item at a future meeting. Now, Carolyn Campbell.
Madam Chair, I'd like to have a point of personal privilege, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to leave anything out. And I need to address Mr. Roberts' comments on April the 16th regarding the repeated use of the N-word during the History, Government, and Social Studies report that we were receiving. Reverend Ben Scott was providing comments after being invited by Mr. Gifford as a member of the review committee. It came out of nowhere, and Mr. Roberts felt completely comfortable in the end to say the full offensive word. No one has been able to understand why we had to endure the monologue regarding the N-word, especially stating Reverend Dr. King used it twice in his letter from the Birmingham jail. It was offensive to me due to the insensitive way it was maybe implied or received that Reverend Dr. King used this word as part of his vocabulary on a regular basis. My community started contacting me, and I want to share some of the conversations just briefly. First call I received was someone that felt that the member should resign or at least be censored. Second comment, sadly, we are going backwards when it relates to African Americans and our standards, and we can see this across the country also. Third call I received, member was disrespectful to Reverend Scott, and that was very upsetting to quite a few, and I've had a lot of people stop me, but that was one of the things that was really upsetting. Next, shocked that the comments are from an elected official of Kansas. And finally, I'm just going to share, was he just trying to get media attention? That's what I was asked. Now, the letter from the Birmingham jail, I read it years ago, and it's a beautiful letter, and it's very meaningful. So at first, I was going to read the whole thing, but I don't think I'll do that. But I am going to read portions of the letter from the Birmingham jail. And it reads, and this was, the date that he wrote this was April the 16th, 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that come across my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill, and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. Now I'm going to go down. I'm just going to go down further down in the letter, and I want to make sure that I'm going to read where he used that word so you'll understand the context of what it was. But this is something we've heard one of Dr. King's quotes over the years: injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. Okay. You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I am sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate in the city's white power structure left the Negro community to no alternative. Now I'm going to go to where down. And this is when, his daughter Yolanda had asked him, "Daddy, why do white people treat colored people so mean? When you take a cross-country drive and find necessary to sleep night after night in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile because no motel will accept you, when you are humiliated day in and day out by the nagging signs reading colored white, when your first name becomes nigger, your middle name becomes boy, however how old you are, and your last name becomes John, and your wife and mother are never given the respect title Mrs., when you are harried by day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stance, never quite knowing what to expect next, and are plagued with inner fears or outer resentments, when you are forever fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait." Now I'm going to move on. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself, and that is what has happened to the American Negro. I had hoped that the white moderate would see the need. Perhaps I am too optimistic. Perhaps I expected too much. I suppose I should have realized that few members of the oppressor race can understand the deep groans and passionate yearnings of the oppressed race, and still fewer have the vision to see that injustice must be rooted out by strong, persistent, and determined action. I am thankful, however, that some of our white brothers in the South have grasped the meaning of this social revolution and committed themselves. They are still all too few in quantity, but they are big in quality. And then he named several people. Others have marched with us down nameless streets in the South. They have languished in filthy, roast-infested jails, suffering the abuse and brutality of policemen who view them as dirty nigger lovers. The last part of the letter that I want to read is, "Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities. And in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation with all their beauty." So I just felt like I had to, because I just had to share part of this letter, because my concern was that it was never clear why you mentioned, Dr. King's in that letter, and the community here in Topeka, the people that know me, and then some people that have looked at it on the website have been very upset about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments before we adjourn for lunch?
Madam Chair, are you going to recommend amending the agenda to include the item that was scheduled at 11 o'clock?
Yes, I believe we'll have to do that. Do we need a motion to do that? Kathy Bush. Okay. Seconded by Dina Horst. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? So that's a 10-0 vote. Thank you very much.